craziest interrogation moments ever. This is Alonso Perez. He was arrested for ending 3 people's lives. He knew that he would spend the rest of his life behind bars. So when cops left him alone, he decided to try and escape. Using his body weight, he broke his handcuffs. He then climbed into the ceiling. Alonso then crawled through an air vent and escaped. Alonso then stole a Ford pickup truck and drove away. But he was recaptured a few days later. Prosecutors called Alonso one of the worst criminals of all time, and he was given life in prison for what he did. This is Cynthia Sabaka. This 63-year-old woman was living with her daughter Laura and her daughter's husband Gio Ward. While living with her daughter's family, she realized Gio Ward had been harming Laura and their kids. So on her 63rd birthday, Cynthia ended Gio Ward's life using a firearm. She was arrested and taken to the interrogation room. When police told her that Gio Ward had not survived, this was her reaction.
Is he alive? He's not? Oh, good. Oh, thank you.
She began celebrating what she did.
He's dead, man.
Oh, thank you. Oh, boy.
She said she had no remorse for what she did. That's because she was tired of seeing Gio Ward treat her daughter and grandkids so badly. Cynthia was sentenced to 50 years in prison for what she did, meaning she will spend the rest of her life behind bars. Convicts who had meltdowns in court. This is Jaleel Smith Riley. One night he robbed Portia Brooks and her boyfriend Aaron Martin. He then fired at the couple, giving Martin permanent brain damage and ending Portia Brooks' life. In court, Jaleel began crying and said he was sorry. But the judge showed no mercy and sentenced him to life behind bars. Jaleel cried when he heard his fate.
Defendant serve a term of life without parole. As to count 4.
This is Sean Riker. He has a long criminal past, which is why when he was in court for harming his family, he was shackled with a spit mask, causing him to lash out at the judge, Wayne Marrick. During the trial, Sean is very rude to the judge and prosecutor, eventually causing him to be removed from court. Later on, Sean was sentenced to 200 years in prison. This is Ryan Stone. In 2015, Ryan Stone decided to play GTA in real life. He hijacked a car with a 4-year-old boy inside. He then went on a massive police chase, driving at 100 miles per hour. Eventually, Ryan was arrested. In court, he began crying and saying how sorry he was.
I pray you leave me time to start a family of my own.
But that's when the court played this. During a prison phone call, Ryan can be seen bragging about his crime.
My lawyer told me I made the news in the UK and Australia.
Ryan was sentenced to 160 years in prison, which caused him to cry even more. Guilty convicts reacting to life sentences. This is Seth and Tatiana Welch. They had a 10-month-old baby named Mary who they did not feed. Mary was starving and also ill, but this couple said they didn't believe in medicine. Their child passed away thanks to their negligence, but they thought because it was an accident they would get away with it. However, when they were sentenced to life without parole, they were shocked. I can't believe they're acting like victims after what they did. This is Michelle Blair. She was in court because she took 2 of her kids' lives. But when she was found guilty and was being led away, she freaked out and shockingly admitted to the crime.
Everybody want to know, yes, I did kill her!
This is Eric Penland. He harmed his son so badly the kid got permanent brain damage. But when he was given a guilty sentence, he freaked out. If that's how he acts in public, just imagine how he gets behind closed doors. Teenagers reacting to life sentences. This is Matt Morgan. One day he was babysitting his 14-month-old brother. That's when Matt set fire to his house. The fire caused his baby brother Josh to lose his life. He was given a life sentence in court, and when he heard the news, he burst into tears. Matt was only 17 years old when he was sentenced to life in prison. This is Dylan Schumacher. When he was 16 years old, he was babysitting his girlfriend's son. That was when Dylan hit the baby in the head, causing his girlfriend's son to lose his life. Dylan was sentenced to 25 years to life, but in the courtroom, Dylan could not stop crying. This is Dante Wright. When Dante was only 17, he tried to rob Jordan Clee, but it went wrong and Dante ended up ending Jordan's life. When Jordan's family was speaking in court, Dante began laughing in their face. Thankfully, Dante Wright was given a life sentence. These criminals laughed in court. This is Michael Swanson. He had a genius IQ, but one day he decided to rob a convenience store. During this robbery, he ended 2 people's lives. He then fled from Iowa to Minnesota. During his interrogation, Michael said ending the people's lives made him feel powerful.
How did it feel when you pulled the trigger?
I felt powerful.
And in court, when his victims' families were crying, he began laughing. Michael even laughed after he was given a life sentence. This is Jamie Osuna. He was given life in prison after taking a woman's life. But when he was put into prison, he was given a cellmate named Luis Romero. One day, guards came to check their cell. That's when they realized Jamie had taken Luis's life. In court and during interviews, Jamie always laughed, and even gave his victims' families a menacing wave. Most evil criminals you never want to meet. This is Jeremy Christian. In 2017, he was on a train in Portland, Oregon. That's when he began shouting very rude remarks. 3 people stepped in to try and make him stop, but that's when Jeremy pulled out a knife. He ended 2 people's lives and injured 1 other. He was captured on CCTV casually walking away, but was later caught and given 2 life sentences plus 51 years. But when he was given the sentence, he had a massive freakout in court. This is Edgar Ray Killen. In 1964, he took the lives of 3 civil rights activists. Him, along with various accomplices, ran them off the road. He then ended all of their lives and burned the car. He thought he got away with the crime. That was until 2005 when new evidence emerged. He was sentenced to 60 years in prison. Given that he was 80 years old at the time, this meant a life sentence. Criminals who escaped from court. In a Russian court, this man tried to escape using the ceiling. This is 18-year-old Leonid Gracer. He took the life of his own sister, but thankfully his courtroom escape was foiled by police. In 2018, this man ran out of court. No one expected him to get away because there's a button that has to be pressed to open the doors. But he made a secret plan with a friend to open the door. You can see how his friend pushes the door button. This allowed the man to escape from court, but he was later arrested yet again. Look at these women leaving court. They were supposed to go on a prison bus back to jail, but these 2 women snuck underneath the bus. They then tried to run away, but unluckily they were caught by police who realized what they were doing. In Washington, these 2 suspects ran out of court. That's when the judge takes off his robe and chases these 2 men. Amazingly, the judge actually caught these 2 runaways. People who outlived insane prison sentences. Ricky Jackson was put in prison for a crime he did not commit and spent 40 years behind bars. He was arrested for ending a man's life. The only evidence was a 13-year-old boy who said he saw Ricky commit the crime. 40 years later, the same kid came forward and said he was coerced by police. Ricky was proven innocent and was given $18 million in compensation for the years lost. But is $18 million enough for spending 40 years behind bars for something you didn't do? This is Betty Smithy. In 1963, she ended a kid's life. Years later, she decided to appeal. At first, she was rejected, but in 2012, she appealed again and was freed. She spent 49 years behind bars, but some said this is not enough given what she did. This is Thomas Trantino. In 1963, he ended 2 cops' lives. He was sentenced to life behind bars and spent 39 years locked up. In 2002, he applied for parole and was released. Many cops were annoyed at this. After all, Joseph had ended 2 cops' lives. Joseph said he was sorry and regrets everything he did, but should he have been released or not?